Johnny Depp, Empath or Narcissist. Part 6. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor, and welcome to a further instalment of the detailed analysis of Johnny Depp. I make it very clear that in order to determine what somebody is, this is not done on a piece of throwaway evidence. It is not done on the basis of one or two actions, but one has to look at a detailed range of behaviour over a sustained period of time and from a variety of sources. That is how one forms a balanced, objective assessment, free from bias. Let us continue with the examination of his relationships. We've already learned of several relationships that Depp has had involving his first wife, Laurie Allison, Sherilyn Fenn, Jennifer Grey, Kate Moss, Ellen Barkin, Winona Ryder. Before we get on to his most substantial relationship, there are others that ought to be mentioned. The first is Tali Chanel, a B-movie actress. She says she got a shot at being Depp's fiancée. They met when she was working as a hostess at the Hollywood premiere of Die Hard in July 1990. I helped him out of his limo, the 27-year-old recalls. Our eyes locked, and he asked me to marry him. They dated for a year, spending quiet nights at Depp's Hollywood Hills home, ordering food from a Chinese restaurant. Another relationship, and one where he exhibits considerable charm in the manner by which he seduced this individual. Depp also has said that he sort of had a crush on Patty Hearst when the two made Cry Baby. Then there's Faye Dunaway, with whom Depp shot the yet-to-be-released, at the time of the interview, Arizona Dream. She's God in a way, he said, when he learned that Dunaway harboured an unfulfilled desire to bounce on a trampoline. He and a friend drove 80 miles to a sporting goods store in Tucson to buy one, then brought it back to the tiny town of Douglas, where they were filming. We set the trampoline up in the middle of the desert, he recalls, and we got Faye on it. And in about half a second, she turned from this beautiful woman into this sweet, giddy 12-year-old girl on a trampoline. It was one of the most incredible moments I'd ever seen in my life. Is this the behaviour of someone exhibiting emotional empathy by doing something special, or is it a case that going to such lengths is merely being done in a means to assert control over this individual with an over-the-top gesture, redolent of narcissism and, at the very least, narcissistic trait of showmanship? Note again, these three individuals have been mentioned: Tali Chanel, Patty Hearst, and Faye Dunaway. And it would appear that Depp almost seems to fall in love very quickly with the women that he meets, and we've seen a string of numerous relationships that he has had. This capacity for falling in love so quickly is again redolent of the idealization that a narcissist would engage in. Narcissists, of course, are incapable of love because we have no emotional empathy. But the narcissism will cause a narcissist to believe that they are in love, causing that person to idealize the victim, causing them to place them on a pedestal, to desire them, to get engaged to them very quickly, to have a swift sexual encounter with them, to get married with undue haste, perhaps have a child together very quickly. Accordingly, this repeated behaviour of Depp, where he seems to fall in love at the drop of a hat and develop crushes and desires for women, might well suggest that this is the behaviour of a narcissist. Again, might it be rampant insecurity as a consequence of his potential codependent empath status, which causes him to want to be involved in a relationship? And is it the case that many of these individuals that he falls for are actually narcissists, and therefore It's his inherent addiction, creating emotional thinking, that stimulates his love-devotee trait, causing him to want to do special things for people, causing him to want to be with these individuals, causing him to propose marriage so quickly and to get engaged so quickly. The determination must be made, of course, on the evidence. We now turn back the years to go to 1998 with an article that appeared in Hello and was written following his breakup with Kate Moss. Depp explained that he wished, following the breakup, that he'd had the courage to pick up a phone and persuade Kate, 24 at the time, to be part of his life again. But the moment was lost. Instead, he stayed at home and cried for a week because he allowed the gorgeous catwalk siren to slip through his hands. "I have never got that emotional over a woman before," he confided. "I have been so stupid because we had so much going for our relationship. I'm the one who has to take responsibility for what happened. I was difficult to get on with. I let my work get in the way, and I didn't give her the attention I should have done. The whole thing was crazy because I should never have got so worked up over what people had to say about my work. Sure, I should care about my movies, but when I get home, I should try to leave that stuff behind. I couldn't do that, and I was horrific to live with. Trust me, I'm a total moron at times." Is this genuine contrition and an individual showing accountability for his behaviours? Alternatively, is this the behaviour of someone who knows what to say, knows the right things to say after the event, for the purpose of asserting control over the listener by virtue of facade management, pity play, and apparent empathy? Are these responses genuine ones to cry for a week? Perhaps that is an adverse reaction to a threat to control, or that it never happened and is a revision of history and is being said for melodramatic effect. The article also explained that Depp couldn't accept the fierce criticism which greeted his directorial debut in the drama The Brave, which he wrote and co-starred in with Marlon Brando. His anger spilled over into his private life with Kate Moss, and he insists, "I will never let that happen again. I think you could say I truly discovered the meaning of loneliness." Anger is a narcissistic trait, which everybody has. It's what's done with it. Anger can be directed in useful ways when it's ensconced by empathic traits. If you want to understand more about how that can happen, read my book Fury, where I explain the distinction between anger and the fury of a narcissist. Might it be that his anger was a natural reaction? After all, nobody likes to be criticised. Or was it the response to being challenged that ignited fury rather than anger? The article explains that worse still for Depp was having to face up to the fact that he was not going to be able to start a family with Kate Moss. Towards the end of their relationship, his thoughts had turned to fatherhood. Although he had been labelled a spoiled Hollywood brat because of his often outrageous behaviour in public, showmanship, potential lack of accountability, he was ready for parental responsibility. "I know it's scary taking up that responsibility," he says, leaning back in a chair, rolling yet another cigarette. "I thought the time was right, the time had come. I was wrong. Now I'm scared of not finding the right woman, of not being in a position to look after my kids, of never being able to leave them my stuff. You leave so much of your childhood behind you. In my case, in my childhood, everything went in the garage and we moved on. That was my life in there, in those few boxes and bags. I want to pass on more than that. I have to get out there now and find the right candidate to be the mother of my children. I'm coming up to 35 and you get broody. Why shouldn't a guy get broody? Some people imagine that because of the movies I make, or just the way that they perceive me to be, that I wouldn't make a great father. They don't know me at all." Does this desire to be a father and the fact that he regrets that he was unable to do so with Kate Moss evidence again of his emotional empathy? Or might it just be facade management for the purpose of the interview? We now turn to Vanessa Paradis, and this provides us with quite the instructive view of her. And we shall be coming across that and addressing that in part 7. Join me there.